Just because I went to the movies with my brother, his girlfriend misunderstood me as the third party. In her rage, she brought a group of people and stormed into my dormitory room. "You despicable woman! How dare you seduce Matt? You knew the truth and still dared to interfere, you filthy creature!" she screamed. She even started live streaming as she viciously attacked me. All of this stemmed from Matt, my brother, helping me out with something. Maggie, his girlfriend, got jealous and accused me of trying to take him from her. No matter how much I tried to explain, she refused to listen. That weekend, my dorm mates had all gone out, leaving me alone in the dorm. I had just returned from the cafeteria, holding a tray with my meal, when I saw a girl leading a group of people charging aggressively toward the female dormitory. Among them were a few intimidating men who looked like bodyguards. The girl in the lead yelled, "Catch that bee who's been trying to steal my man." Her voice was sharp and filled with fury. "Wow, she's taking this all the way to school," someone whispered nearby, astonished by the scene. Trying to ignore the commotion, I returned to my room and sat down to eat. But before I could take more than 2 bites, a loud bang 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 sounded at my door. "Open the door, open it now." The angry yelling startled me. "What's going on?" I asked cautiously as I opened the door, only to find the same group from earlier standing outside. Before I could react, Maggie grabbed my hair and slapped me hard across the face. "Who are you people? Why are you attacking me?" I yelled in pain, pushing her away. Maggie's face was red with rage. "You don't know why. You're the third party, and you dare to ask why. I'm Matt's girlfriend, and you're nothing but a shameless homewrecker." Hearing that name, I immediately realized the huge misunderstanding. "You've got it wrong. I'm Matt's sister, his biological sister, not a third party," I shouted, trying to explain. The room fell silent for a moment. One of the men, who had been rummaging through my things, held up my student ID. "Her name is Nina," he said, his tone skeptical. "How could she be his sister when their last names are different?" Maggie's expression grew even darker. She sneered and grabbed my face, forcing me to look at her. "You liar! Different last names, and you still claim to be his sister. Who do you think you're fooling?" I was furious. "We have different last names because we took after different parents. One from our father, the other from our mother. Maggie, you're out of line. When my brother arrives, you'll regret this." But Maggie only laughed cruelly. "Oh, is that so? Let's see if your dear brother can save you this time." She turned to her group and barked, "Grab her!" Several men immediately rushed forward and grabbed my arms, forcing me to my knees. I struggled as hard as I could, but I didn't have the strength to fight them off. The humiliation of being overpowered and forced to kneel filled me with rage and despair. At that moment, a few girls walked past my room and noticed the commotion. "Wow, what's going on here? Why are there so many people in this dorm room?" I seized the opportunity and screamed at the top of my lungs. "Please, help me, call the police." They barged in and started attacking me. The girls looked alarmed, but before they could act, Maggie stepped in front of me with her phone. "Don't be fooled by her act. She's a homewrecker. Look here, this is a picture of her at the movies with my boyfriend." The girls hesitated as they glanced at the photo. "Oh my gosh, she really is a homewrecker," one of them exclaimed, glaring at me with disdain. "Homewreckers are the worst." "No, it's a misunderstanding," I tried to explain. "The man in that picture is my brother Matt. I'm not a homewrecker." But Maggie wasn't listening. She smirked triumphantly and turned back to her audience on the live stream. "Everyone look at her. This shameless little snake thinks she can fool all of us. But today, I'll teach her a lesson she'll never forget." I trembled with anger, tears of frustration filling my eyes. "You're insane. This is illegal. Let me go right now, or I'll call the police." Maggie's face twisted into a cruel grin. "Call the police? You're in no position to make threats, sweetheart." With a quick motion, she snatched my phone from my hand and slammed it onto the ground. The screen shattered into pieces. Oh, you think you're calling for help? Keep dreaming, she sneered. I bent down instinctively to pick up my phone, but Maggie stomped on it, grinding the shards beneath her heel. Her next step landed squarely on my fingers, the sharp pain shooting through my hand as she applied her full weight. Ah, I screamed in pain, trying desperately to free my hand. Maggie laughed coldly. What's wrong? Does it hurt? That's nothing compared to the pain you caused me by seducing Matt. She leaned in closer, her voice dripping with malice. Boys, hold her down. I'm not done with her yet. The men tightened their grip on me, forcing me back onto my knees. My face burned with shame and anger as I was restrained. Maggie grabbed a nearby umbrella from my desk and swung it toward my head. The hard, blunt object hit me with a thud, sending a wave of dizziness through my skull. You're disgusting, she spat. You think you can steal my man and walk away without consequences? Not on my watch. At this point, I couldn't hold back my tears. The pain, the humiliation, and the overwhelming injustice felt unbearable. Maggie turned to the camera of her phone, still live streaming, and smirked. Everyone, take a good look at this little homewrecker. This is what happens when you try to seduce someone else's man. Today, I'll make sure she pays for her shamelessness. The comment section on her live stream was flooded with hateful messages. Wow, she looks innocent, but she's nothing but a snake. Homewreckers like her deserve this kind of treatment. Teach her a lesson she'll never forget. Maggie laughed as she watched the growing audience. You see, no one feels sorry for you. Everyone knows you're nothing but trash. She reached down and began to tug at my shirt, trying to humiliate me further. Let's see if you still have the guts to look people in the eye after this, she sneered. No, stop, I cried out, struggling desperately. You're insane. This is a misunderstanding. One of her friends grabbed her arm. Maggie, that's enough. Be careful, or you'll get banned for violating livestream rules. Maggie hesitated, but finally let go, glaring at me with hatred. She picked up an umbrella again and threw it at my head. You're lucky I'm feeling generous today. The umbrella hit me square on the forehead, the hard impact making me dizzy. Blood trickled down my face, but I bit my lip to keep from crying out. You're pathetic, Maggie muttered, standing over me. Still think you can call for help? Boys, grab her again. Before they could restrain me further, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Help! Someone help me! A group of students passing by the dorm looked inside, their expressions turning to shock as they saw the scene. I locked eyes with them and pleaded, please, call the police. They're attacking me. Maggie stepped forward, blocking their view again. Don't believe her. She's a liar and a homewrecker. Here, let me show you proof. She shoved her phone in their faces, showing the picture of me with Matt at the movies. This is her, shamelessly hanging out with my boyfriend. Who wouldn't be furious? The girls outside the door exchanged uneasy glances, but seemed to buy her story. Wow, a homewrecker? That's awful, one of them whispered. No, that's my brother. Matt is my brother, I yelled, my voice cracking with desperation. But no one seemed to believe me. Maggie smirked as the girls outside murmured in agreement. She turned back to me and sneered. See that? No one's going to believe a liar like you. Boys, hold her down. Let's finish this. The men grabbed my arms again, pinning me to the ground. I had no strength left to fight back. My body was shaking, not just from fear, but from the overwhelming sense of helplessness. Maggie reached for my phone, which had already been smashed. She held it up mockingly before tossing it aside. Oh no, looks like your lifeline is gone. What will you do now? Then she grabbed an umbrella from the desk and swung it hard at me, the sharp edge grazing my temple. Pain shot through my head, and my vision blurred. Blood trickled down my face, and I bit my lip to keep from crying out. Take that, Maggie spat. Maybe next time you'll think twice before messing with someone else's boyfriend. I gasped for air, my chest heaving. You're insane, I managed to choke out. This is all a misunderstanding. Matt is my brother. I'm not a third party. Maggie's face twisted in rage. Do you think I'm stupid? You're just trying to cover up your disgusting behavior. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. She turned to her phone, still live streaming, and pointed the camera at me. Everyone, take a good look. This is what happens to shameless women who can't keep their hands off someone else's man. The comments on her stream kept flooding in. Good job, Maggie. Teach her a lesson. This girl deserves it. Can we see her face better? Zoom in. I felt sick. The humiliation was unbearable, but no one seemed to care. They all believed Maggie's lies. I tried to twist free from the men holding me down, but they were too strong. At that moment, the sound of loud footsteps echoed down the hallway. Someone yelled, "What's going on in there?" It was the dormitory supervisor. She burst into the room, her face a mixture of shock and anger. "What is the meaning of this? Who allowed outsiders into the dorms?" "Please help me," I cried out. "They attacked me. My phone is destroyed, and I can't call for help." Maggie quickly stepped forward, blocking the supervisor's view. "Don't listen to her. She's a homewrecker trying to steal my boyfriend. We're just teaching her a lesson." The supervisor frowned. "Teaching her a lesson? This is a school, not some lawless place where you can do whatever you want. Let her go right now." Maggie's smug expression faltered, but she still tried to hold her ground. "You don't understand. I don't care what your excuse is," the supervisor snapped. "If you don't leave immediately, I'll call security." Maggie hesitated, but before she could respond, someone else entered the room. "What's going on here?" It was Matt. Matt's voice cut through the chaos like a sharp blade. Everyone in the room froze, including Maggie. Her expression shifted from anger to panic as Matt stepped inside, his eyes sweeping across the scene. When he saw me, kneeling on the ground, bruised and bloodied, his face darkened with fury. "Nina," he shouted, rushing to my side. "What happened? Are you okay?" I tried to force a smile, but my voice came out weak. "Matt, they misunderstood. Maggie thought I was a third party. She brought these people here to attack me." Matt's eyes widened in disbelief. He turned to Maggie, his voice filled with rage. "Maggie, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do this to my sister?" Maggie took a step back, her face pale. "Matt, I didn't know she was your sister. You never told me you had a sister." "That's no excuse," Matt yelled. "Even if she wasn't my sister, how could you resort to something like this? Look at her. Look at what you've done." Maggie's lips quivered. She reached out to grab Matt's arm, her voice trembling. "Matt, I'm sorry. I thought she was trying to steal you from me. I just wanted to protect our relationship." Matt shoved her hand away. "Protect our relationship? By attacking an innocent person? You've crossed every line, Maggie. We're done." "No, Matt, please," Maggie cried, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know." Matt ignored her, turning back to me. He gently helped me to my feet, his voice softening. "Nina, can you stand? I'll take you to the hospital." I nodded weakly, leaning on him for support. My body ached all over, and every step sent jolts of pain through me. As we moved toward the door, Maggie suddenly screamed, "No! You can't leave me, Matt. She's lying. She's just trying to turn you against me." Matt stopped and turned to face her, his expression cold. "Maggie, this isn't about her lying. This is about you. You chose to hurt someone innocent without even verifying the truth. That's on you." Before Maggie could respond, the dormitory supervisor stepped forward. "I've already called security, and the police are on their way. None of you are leaving until this is sorted out." Maggie's face turned pale, and she looked around at the others in her group. "You guys won't let me take the blame alone, right? We're in this together." But her so-called allies exchanged uneasy glances, backing away from her. One of the men muttered, "Don't drag us into this. You're the one who told us to come here." The others nodded in agreement, distancing themselves from Maggie. "You cowards," Maggie shrieked. "You're just going to leave me here to face this alone?" Matt pulled me closer, his arm steadying me. "Let's go, Nina. You don't need to be here for this." As Matt helped me out of the room, the dormitory supervisor stayed behind, ensuring that no one left until the authorities arrived. I leaned heavily on Matt, my body weak and trembling from the pain and stress of the ordeal. "Matt, thank you for coming," I whispered. He tightened his grip on my shoulder. "I'm sorry, Nina. I should have protected you from this. I had no idea Maggie would do something so horrible." We made it out to the hallway, where a few curious students stood watching. Their whispers filled the air, and their judgmental glances bore into me. I wanted to explain, to shout that I wasn't what Maggie accused me of, but I didn't have the strength. Outside the dormitory, the sound of sirens echoed through the campus. Police cars and an ambulance pulled up, their flashing lights illuminating the night. Matt helped me into the ambulance, his expression a mixture of anger and guilt. As the paramedics examined me, I heard Maggie's voice behind us. She had followed us out, her tone frantic and pleading. "Matt, please, don't leave me like this. I made a mistake, but I love you. You can't just throw everything away." Matt turned to face her, his eyes cold. "Love? Is this what you call love? Hurting my sister, humiliating her, and dragging her through hell? If that's your idea of love, then I want no part of it." Tears streamed down Maggie's face as she dropped to her knees. "Please, Matt, I'll do anything to make this right." But Matt didn't respond. He climbed into the ambulance with me, shutting the door firmly behind him. Maggie's cries grew fainter as the vehicle pulled away. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed that I had a mild concussion, several bruises, and a cracked rib. As I lay in the hospital bed, Matt sat beside me, his head in his hands. "I'm so sorry, Nina," he said for the 100th time. "This is all my fault. If I hadn't introduced Maggie into our lives, none of this would have happened." "Stop blaming yourself," I murmured. "You didn't know she would react like this. Besides, I'll be okay. The truth will come out." Matt's jaw tightened. "It already has. Maggie's live stream was seen by thousands of people. Everyone thinks you're a homewrecker. They're tearing you apart online." My heart sank. What? Matt pulled out his phone and showed me the comments flooding social media. People were calling me vile names, accusing me of ruining Maggie's life, and demanding I face consequences. The lies Maggie spread had taken root, and the public was eating them up. "But this isn't fair," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I didn't do anything wrong." "I know," Matt said. "That's why I'm going to fix this." Matt's expression was determined, his eyes blazing with anger. "I won't let her get away with this, Nina. I'll make sure the truth comes out." Over the next few days, Matt worked tirelessly. He contacted the school administration, gathered witness statements, and reviewed the dormitory's security camera footage. Meanwhile, I remained in the hospital, trying to recover from the physical and emotional wounds Maggie had inflicted on me. But it didn't stop there. Maggie's livestream continued to haunt me online. Every day, new comments would appear under her video. "Homewreckers like her deserve to be exposed. Poor Maggie. I can't believe she had to deal with this snake. Nina should be kicked out of school for what she's done." It felt like the entire world had turned against me. No matter how much I wanted to ignore the noise, it was impossible to escape. Even some of my classmates started avoiding me, whispering behind my back whenever I walked by. One evening, Matt arrived at the hospital with a grim expression. "Nina, it's time to fight back," he said, sitting down beside my bed. "What do you mean?" I asked weakly. "I've prepared everything," he explained. "I have the security footage from the dorm, showing Maggie and her gang attacking you. I've also downloaded her live stream and compiled screenshots of the hateful comments she encouraged. It's all evidence." I blinked at him, stunned. "But will it make a difference? People already believe her lies." Matt's jaw tightened. "It will. The truth always wins, Nina. We just need to be patient." The next day, Matt uploaded a detailed video to social media, explaining the entire situation. He included the security footage, Maggie's live stream, and even documents proving our sibling relationship. His video was clear, concise, and impossible to refute. At first, the response was slow, but as more people saw the evidence, the narrative began to shift. Comments started pouring in. Wait, she's actually his sister. Maggie lied about everything. This is disgusting. I feel so bad for Nina. She didn't deserve this. Maggie's lies unraveled before her eyes. The public, once so eager to tear me apart, now turned their attention to her. Her Livestream account was flooded with angry messages. How could you do this to an innocent girl? You're the real snake here, Maggie. Apologize to Nina. As the tide turned, the school launched its own investigation. Maggie and her gang were summoned for questioning, and the evidence Matt provided was undeniable. The school publicly condemned their actions and issued a formal apology to me. Maggie was suspended, and her accomplices faced disciplinary action. Still, the damage had been done. My reputation had been dragged through the mud, and though people were starting to believe the truth, the scars from the ordeal remained. Matt sat beside me as we watched the latest developments unfold online. It's not over yet, he said quietly. Maggie needs to be held accountable for everything she's done. Not just to you, but to everyone she's manipulated. I nodded, my heart heavy. You're right, this can't just end with an apology. A few days later, Maggie was officially charged with multiple offenses, including assault, defamation, and inciting harassment. Her gang members, who had participated in the attack, were also summoned for questioning. The school provided security camera footage as evidence, and Matt submitted the recordings of her live stream and screenshots of the abusive comments. Meanwhile, public opinion shifted drastically. Maggie's former supporters now turned against her, with many condemning her actions as cruel and inexcusable. I can't believe I used to support her. This is disgusting. She deserves everything coming her way. Nina's story breaks my heart. Stay strong. As Maggie's world crumbled, her family made a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. One afternoon, while I was still recovering in the hospital, 3 people arrived, Maggie's parents and her younger brother. They carried a gift bag and wore expressions of forced humility. Please, we just want to talk, Maggie's mother said, stepping forward with a trembling voice. Matt, who had been sitting beside my bed, stood up, his expression cold. What do you want? Maggie's father stepped in, bowing slightly. We came to apologize on behalf of our daughter. She made a terrible mistake, and we're deeply sorry for what happened. I remained silent, watching as Maggie's mother placed the gift bag on the table. This is a small token of our sincerity, she said. Please, let's resolve this privately. We don't want this to go to court. Matt's eyes narrowed. You think a gift is going to fix what she did to my sister? She humiliated Nina in front of thousands of people, physically assaulted her, and spread lies that nearly ruined her life. You think we're just going to forget that? Please, have mercy, Maggie's mother pleaded. Our daughter made a mistake, but she's young. She doesn't deserve to have her future destroyed over this. My mother, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. Your daughter didn't just make a mistake. She made a series of deliberate, cruel decisions. You raised her to think this kind of behavior is acceptable. Now you're asking us to let her off the hook? That's not going to happen. Maggie's family exchanged uneasy glances. Her father tried again. We're not asking for much. Just, don't let this go to court. We'll compensate you, whatever it takes. Matt crossed his arms, his voice firm. This isn't about money. It's about accountability. Maggie needs to face the consequences of her actions. If she didn't want her future ruined, she shouldn't have tried to ruin Nina's. Defeated, Maggie's parents lowered their heads. Her mother whispered, "Please, think about it." They left shortly after, their attempt at reconciliation failing miserably. As they walked out, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. Despite everything Maggie had done, her family's desperation reminded me that they were also victims of her actions in their own way. The court proceedings began 2 weeks later. Maggie appeared in court, looking frail and defeated, her usual confidence replaced with fear. As the charges were read aloud, she barely lifted her head. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Security footage, live stream recordings, and witness statements all pointed to her guilt. When it was my turn to testify, I recounted every painful detail of the attack. My voice trembled at first, but as I spoke, a sense of resolve grew within me. I wasn't just speaking for myself. I was speaking for anyone who had ever been wronged and silenced. As I stepped down from the witness stand, I felt a weight lift from my chest. Speaking out had been terrifying, but it was also liberating. I returned to my seat beside Matt, who gave me an encouraging nod. The prosecution presented the evidence next, starting with the security footage from the dormitory. The video clearly showed Maggie and her gang storming into my room, dragging me to the floor and assaulting me. Gasps filled the courtroom as the footage played, the brutality shocking even the most composed spectators. Next, they showed clips from Maggie's live stream. Her words, full of malice, and the comments egging her on, painted a damning picture. The court saw her gloating as she humiliated me and heard her encouraging her audience to mock and attack me online. Maggie sat silently, her head hanging low. The once confident girl who had orchestrated my humiliation was now a shadow of her former self. When it was time for Maggie's defense, her lawyer attempted to shift the blame. My client was overwhelmed with emotions. She acted out of jealousy and made a mistake, but she never intended to cause serious harm. Matt leaned over and whispered angrily, "They're trying to make it sound like this was just a minor incident." I clenched my fists, trying to keep my composure as the lawyer continued. "Maggie is young and has her whole life ahead of her. She deeply regrets her actions and has learned a valuable lesson." The judge's expression remained stern. "Regret doesn't erase the harm done," he said firmly. "The evidence shows that your client not only planned and executed the attack, but also broadcasted it to thousands of people, inciting harassment against the victim." Maggie's lawyer lowered his head, realizing the argument wasn't holding up. When the trial concluded, the judge announced that the verdict would be delivered in 2 weeks. As the courtroom emptied, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions: relief that the ordeal was nearly over, but also lingering anxiety about what the future held. Matt and I walked out together, the sunlight outside blinding after the tense hours inside the courtroom. "You were brave today," Matt said, putting a hand on my shoulder. "I didn't feel brave," I admitted, "but I'm glad I spoke up." "You did more than speak up, Nina," he said. "You stood up for yourself. No one will ever forget that." The next 2 weeks were a blur. News of the trial spread quickly, and the public's opinion of Maggie continued to spiral downward. Former classmates came forward with their own stories about her manipulative behavior, painting a picture of someone who had spent years deceiving and exploiting those around her. "She once stole from my dorm and blamed it on someone else," one classmate revealed in a post. Another wrote, "She manipulated her ex-boyfriend into buying her expensive gifts, then dumped him the moment she got what she wanted." The revelations only fueled the public's outrage. By the time the court reconvened for sentencing, Maggie's reputation was in tatters. When the day of the verdict arrived, the courtroom was packed. Maggie sat silently, her head bowed, as the judge began to speak. "After reviewing all the evidence and considering the gravity of the offenses, this court finds the defendant, Maggie Harper, guilty of assault, defamation, and inciting harassment." The judge paused, letting the words sink in. Maggie trembled in her seat, tears streaming down her face. For these crimes, the court sentences her to 6 years in prison. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Maggie collapsed into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Her family, who had been absent from most of the trial, sat stone-faced in the back row. They didn't approach her as the bailiff escorted her out of the courtroom. As Maggie was led away, I felt a strange sense of closure. The ordeal that had consumed my life for so long was finally over. The justice system had done its part, and for the first time in weeks, I could breathe freely. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around Matt and me, shoving microphones in our faces. "Nina, how do you feel about the verdict?" "Matt, do you think the sentence was fair?" I looked at Matt, unsure of what to say. He stepped forward, shielding me from the crowd. "This isn't about fairness," he said firmly. "This is about accountability." Maggie's actions had consequences, and today she was held responsible for them. That's all we wanted. He guided me through the throng of reporters, ignoring their follow-up questions. Once we were safely in the car, he turned to me. "You don't have to answer to anyone, Nina. This is your time to heal." Over the following weeks, life began to return to normal. The trial's publicity slowly faded, and with it, the attention on my life. My classmates, who had once whispered behind my back, now approached me with apologies. "I'm sorry I believed the rumors," one girl said, her voice trembling. "I should have known better." "It's okay," I replied, though deep down, I wasn't sure if I fully forgave them. The wounds they had left were still fresh, but I was determined not to let bitterness consume me. Matt, true to his word, stayed by my side every step of the way. He helped me catch up on my studies and even encouraged me to take self-defense classes. "You'll never feel helpless again," he said, with a reassuring smile. Maggie's family, meanwhile, disappeared from public view. Rumors swirled that they had moved away to avoid the shame of the trial. Her former friends and classmates distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with her name. But not everyone was so eager to forget. Online, discussions about the case sparked broader conversations about bullying, defamation, and the consequences of social media abuse. People shared their own stories, turning my experience into a catalyst for change. One comment stood out to me. "Nina's strength gave me the courage to stand up to my own bullies." I'll never forget her story. Reading those words, I felt a sense of purpose. Maybe what I went through wasn't just for me. Maybe it could help others too. Months later, I stood in the gallery where my mother was hosting an art exhibition. The room was filled with vibrant paintings, each one a testament to her resilience and creativity. She had poured her heart into her work, just as I was learning to do in my own life. Matt walked up beside me, holding 2 glasses of sparkling water. "How's it feel to finally put everything behind you?" he asked. I took a sip and smiled. "It feels like a new beginning." As I looked around the gallery, surrounded by family and friends who had stood by me, I realized that the scars of the past would always be there. But they didn't define me. I was stronger now, stronger than I ever thought I could be. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly free.